starting to do example number 6. So sometimes, and this is, you might only have to do this once or twice in your life. Some people do this all the time, but we want to compare annual percentage yields to figure out where we're going to make the most money or where we're going to save money. So if you go to buy a house, you'd be surprised how much a little bit of 1/4% or 0.5% makes in how much you pay back to the bank. And same with investments. So example number 6, Ursula invests $2,000. Okay. That would be her principal that she starts with Crab Key Bank at an interest rate of 5.15%, which is our rate, which is really 0.0515, right? And it's compounded quarterly, so that's K times 4 times a year, right? And it says let X be the equivalent AYP. So it wants to know what is the equivalent annual, or APY, annual percentage yield. Okay? Annual percentage yield. Now when you do a problem like this, an annual percentage yield it's written a little differently. It says we want X to equal the annual percentage yield, and so what we finally end up with should be, in other words, our regular formula is A equals P times 1 plus R over K times K, or raised to the KT, right? Well, what is our end amount if we were to figure out an annual percentage yield? It's compounded quarterly, and we want to approximate what it would be as if we calculated the percentage interest in 1 year. So the final amount, this A part, in fact, maybe I'll change the color so you can see what I'm doing. This A part should be the original principal investment of $2,000 plus 1. Or I mean times 1 plus X, the annual percentage yield. Okay? That's what they're looking for. You're gonna, because the 2,000 times the 1 is the principal, that's what you start with, and then you're gonna add on a certain percentage, which is a decimal times the 2,000. But that's gotta be equivalent to all this other stuff, right? Which is the 2,000 1 plus the rate, which is 0.0515 all over 4 raised to the 4t. Now there's a couple of things. Mr. Adams purposefully put the t because we want to figure out what this would be in 1 year, so what would t equal? Right? Because we said annual, we're talking about only after 1 year. See, the interest is compounded quarterly, but it's done 4 times a year at the same time. So at the end of the year, it should be equivalent to an annual percentage yield. There's benefits from compounding the interest quarterly, and then there's like disadvantages too, right? Like if you hurry up and pay some extra money on your payments, in other words, if this was like a loan, and you paid the money off before they compounded the interest because they do it once a year, well then that would benefit you. But if you make regular payments and they compound the interest quarterly, they're tacking on interest before you can bring the principal down because the principal is what's important. So anyways, t equals 1, so all this stuff here, this next line should be 2,000 1 plus X is equal to 2,000 times 1 plus 0.0515 all over 4 raised to the 4. Well, see, I got a bunch of numbers on the right-hand side of the equation. So this is actually a really easy problem to do. I'm just going to say 2,000. Right? I'm just going to say 2,000 times the quantity 1 plus the quantity 0.0515 divided by 4, close parentheses, raised to the Is that right? That's a number. It's 2105.00. Let's round it off to 1. So it's 2105.01. Does that make sense? So all this right here is 2105.01. That's what all this stuff adds up to. Let me just double check and make sure. That seems reasonable, right? Yeah, that's right. Okay. And that's equal to 2,000 times 1 plus x. Now following order of operations, but in reverse order, now I'm going to divide by 2,000 on both sides. Okay, use my handy dandy calculator, hit divide by 2,000. Boom, I get 1.0525. Subtract 1 from both sides and I get x is equal to 0.0525. And what does x represent? Anybody remember? Yeah, that's the annual yield percentage. So really what we're saying is that it's approximately 5.25%. So credit cards do the same thing, except they I think they compound the interest daily. Yes? Yeah. Does that make sense? Whoops, about right there. Does that make sense to you guys? Any questions? So by compounding 5.15 4 times a year, it's the same as waiting 1 whole year and then compounding 5.25 at the end of that year, which is about $105.01 in interest.